Interesting. I'm finding out a lot tonight. Like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. One of the things I want to show you too, actually, I think you probably already saw this, but the viewers probably haven't seen this. Speaking of the media, I want to get your take on this clip here from CNN between Medhi Hasan and this other gentleman here who apparently goes off on him very quickly, just to show people what is happening here. Now, to be clear, after this episode, CNN, Abby Phillips, she did come forward and issue some type of apology or whatever. But the reality is what this gentleman here says to Medhi Hasan is no different than what I've seen on CNN and MSNBC and corporate media when they're referring to Muslims, Muslim voters, the Palestinian people. Everyone, listen to this really quick. And Max, I want to get your take on this.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing it.
You've been called an anti-Semite more than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and, no, by me. I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die.
You should not.
No,
did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Hold on.
Did your guest just say I should be killed on live TV?
I said I hope you don't.
Let me just stop.
You said you hope my beeper doesn't go off.
Because you said I'm a big supporter
of the Palestinians.
Hamas?
Guys, let me
I said Palestinians.
Are you?
Am I what? No, of course I'm not.
I
apologize.
Are you a racist, violent person inciting violence against
Ryan,
That's
disgusting. That is completely.
Then I apologize.
Good job, CNN. Let's have first block say the Muslim guy should be blown up.
I apologize.
On TV.
Don't say then I apologize. You literally.
I thought you said Hamas.
You didn't think I said Hamas. I said I supported Palestinian rights.
Yes, I did.
Why? Because when you hear
what's funny is Rudy Giuliani said this yesterday, so you're a great guest to be here to defend Rudy Giuliani.
I wasn't going to entertain nonsense today, and so at this point,
this is what we're in now. This is America in 2024.
Here's what I will say.
Forget the racism.
That's right.
I should die.
I didn't say that.
You said, what does beeper mean? Don't give me your fake.
I did not say you should die.
Why did you say with my beeper go?
What did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper?
So what did you mean?
What did you mean by the beeper? No, you didn't. You said, I hope your beeper doesn't go off.
Ryan, stop talking.
At least have the guts to support your racist comment.
Hang on.
I'm so sorry.
I gotta bring it back.
This is why yesterday's rally was disgusting.
Don't call us Nazis, but I'm going to threaten the brown guy as a terrorist and kill him.
Because I didn't ever say Donald Trump was Hitler. Man. But do you know who stood on a stage yesterday and said, I want to come to the Nazi rally? I don't have to make up words and call you something. You're saying it for yourself. And what you just said right here, apologize, but I will tell you, I don't accept that apology, and you didn't even say it to me.
I didn't say
that was disgusting. But I can be offended when you don't even say it to me. I'm not Puerto Rican, but I was offended by what he said yesterday. And I'm offended that the former president and potentially future president would allow it and go for 12 hours and not say, I don't care. Because you know what? When Kamala Harris put out statements about switching up opinions, it wasn't good enough for Republicans.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you said it.
Why don't you take this?
And then they go into the Trump rally thing. But the part I wanted to focus on is that dialogue there between Medhi Hasan and the other gentleman there who issued an apology and then went back on Twitter and said the exact opposite. What I want to hear from you, Max, is why do you think, and in particular, Medhi Hasan, who drives me crazy because sometimes he can be really good on an issue, but then at the same time, he just wants to do similar what Robert Reich does, which is continue to simp for the status quo and the establishment. Why do you think Medhi Hasan is continuing to put up with that type of behavior? The very same people that he's sitting at the table with while that gentleman was telling him, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. I think we all know what that means. Why is he still trying to hold water for these establishments and for like the Democratic Party, number one? And number two, how did you feel about that discussion that took place on CNN?
Well, that was so cringeworthy on so many levels. And I agree with what you said leading into it, but that's why you're looking at the reason why Medhi Hasan has been simping for and plumping for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. First of all, he's British. I don't think he's even American. I don't even know if he's an American citizen, but he came to Washington from this crappy little island that, would never get, that has caused so much harm around the world. For people like in the media, it's like you're just trapped in this little island and you're separated from the world. And when you come to America, it's like you've hit the big time. If you're in England, if you're in London. And also, it's so much freer here. Like the discussion is so much freer. Look at all of the interrogations, raids that are taking place on independent media figures there. I mean, it's just so small and tightly compressed. So Medhi comes to Washington. He's working for Al Jazeera, but he really wants to hit the big time. And the way to do that is he decides, and it's natural for him. He's a British Muslim. The Republicans aren't going to accept him. He tried to get accepted by Rupert Murdoch's Daily Mail and pitched a column to them where in a leaked letter, he said that he would attack the left from within the left because he's socially conservative. And actually before that video leaked of him as a kind of Muslim hate preacher delivering a tirade in a mosque where he said that Yazid, who is sort of like the Shia devil, is a homosexual music lover. And, he totally reinvents himself in Washington as a liberal who is a darling of the Democrats. He's obviously a very talented communicator. And people love British accents in Washington. They take you so much more seriously. So he actually manages to get a show on MSNBC's Peacock cutout. It wasn't very well rated, but he gets in with the Beltway inner circle of the Democrats as a British Muslim. It's kind of unheard of. And it does speak to a certain level of talent, but also cunning and conniving on his part to do that. And he has to walk the line because he has all these fans, and I guess he has some conviction. He believes in the Palestinians. He has to walk the line between supporting Palestinians and being ingratiating himself with a political party that is anti-Palestinian, pro-war, welcomes Liz Cheney more than they would welcome someone like Medhi Hasan. And so we can see the delicate balance that he tries to entertain on Twitter when he's arguing with Palestinians all the time who say that it's disgusting that they would ever be expected to vote for the author of the Holocaust that is claiming the lives of their families. He's also not Palestinian. He's of, I believe, Pakistani descent. And he's just going forward with this. It doesn't make any sense. He's asking the Muslims and Arabs to strip themselves of their dignity and go to the polls for Kamala. Why is he doing this? It's because if he doesn't do this after being fired for MSNBC after October 7th, or being let go because he was too pro-Palestinian, I guess, he won't get back on those CNN panels and he will disappear and possibly, I don't know, have to go back to his island across the Atlantic, the former colonial media power, England. Nobody wants to do that. It's dreary. The weather's bad. And here, this panel worked out so perfectly for him. And he does a really good job of getting under people's skin. Like he recently had a confrontation with Sarah Palin where she starts calling him obnoxious because he won't let her speak. And then he said, "You're calling me obnoxious? You're a racist." Which isn't, I think, like that's like an escalation. And then he just starts pouncing on her, but he is obnoxious. He did the same thing to Noam Chomsky in an interview. Noam Chomsky, who was like approaching 90, just jumping down his throat, not letting him speak. Slavoj Žižek, he wouldn't let him talk. I mean, I don't agree with Žižek, and a lot of what he says is clownish, but Medhi, he never lets anyone talk. And so he gets on people's nerves, and he got this guy, Ryan Gerdersky, who's just like some conservative incorporated clown, to bring out his inner racist, his inner Zionist, and a conversation that had nothing to do with Israel-Palestine or Lebanon. And it worked out perfectly for Medhi. Everyone's talking about it. He's back on TV. He's back on the A-Team. His network that he started, Zeteo, which impersonates an independent outlet, is going to flourish as a result of this. And if Kamala wins, he is going to get at least B-list, if not A-list. I mean, A-list would be Kamala herself, but he's going to get people from the administration on his Zeteo interviews, which will give him more influence than we would enjoy as outsiders who are like refusing to support the two parties. And so the contradictions are impossible to square between supporting the rights of Palestinians and simping for Kamala. But that's not the point. The point is he just wants to get back on TV, get the big time guests, remain in the Beltway, and keep this meteoric rise to influence and stardom going. And so basically I am saying that, yes, he is an opportunist and a careerist like most people who come to Washington, where I grew up. And he does have some convictions. He's definitely talented. But people, I mean, that's why he's making this case for Kamala. It relates to him and his own ambitions, and it's working out very well. And just notice, he wasn't talking about Palestine before the Republican Zionist dweeb guy brought up the pager attack by Israel in Lebanon. That's not why he was there on that panel. He was just there to echo Democratic Party talking points, saying the same things every other resistance figure, former Biden staffer, was saying on that panel. There was nothing that he was saying that was particularly unique. He wasn't using that platform to challenge the Zionist consensus at CNN. And that's what he's going to do when he's on there.
What do you mean by, like, when you said Zateo impersonates an independent outlet?
Yeah, I mean, look at the studio. Like, no independent outlet has a studio that nice. It looks like a professional broadcast studio. You know, then they'll have contributors attacking Israeli propaganda, and then he'll be hosting people who are like bogus saccharine celebrity influencers who are backing Kamala. And you know, it's the same model that he embraced at MSNBC. And you're seeing this take place to some degree on the left, but it's more of a model that's taken root on the right, the mainstream alternative media model, you know, where billionaires are backing figures to echo and parrot the narratives that come out of alternative media on the right. It's like the narratives about COVID and the globalists and so on, but they have fancy studios and they're all in the tank for Trump now, and they're not alternative in any way.
Yeah, I don't think everyone realizes just how much it costs to have like a studio like that. I mean, I don't have a studio, obviously. You guys can tell, but it's expensive. Like, those desks are expensive. To not have to have a microphone in front of you, that means that the studio is mic'd up. That's expensive. You have to have an audio engineer. Like, all these things are like, it costs a lot of money, and that money has to come from somewhere. Plus, I've been kind of skeptical of some of the people that were commentators on corporate media that all of a sudden over the past 2 years, they're like, I'm independent. Like, you know, like Chris Cuomo and like Medhi Hasan and all of them. I've been kind of skeptical, and I'm just like, are you really independent, or are you just kind of trying to ride this wave of, look at me, I'm free from corporate media, but their talking points still sound like corporate media?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's so obvious who's real and who's not. This has been, since October 7th, we've undergone the ultimate mask off moment. And honestly, I mean, Palestine is kind of easy. It's something to unite around for people who might have disagreed on the Syria dirty war, Ukraine, and so many other issues, COVID. But this one's it's just so obvious that, you know, if you're not standing with Palestinians as they're facing genocide, you're evil. There's no other way to say it. So looking past that, where did Medhi stand on Syria? He is Shia, by the way. He was supporting the dirty war, attacking Seymour Hersh when he would come out with pieces, exposing how the Duma chemical attack was a staged incident, attacking everyone who questioned this, and putting forward the case for bombing the crap out of Syria. And he, you know, supported the Ukraine proxy war. On COVID, he was as big a fanatic as Anthony Fauci, attacking anyone who questioned it, and all the damage that was done to America, and particularly to inner cities in America. He was taking the hardest line for the Democrats. And so he comes in on Palestine, and a lot of other people are. Chris Hayes, for example, you know, he's able to say a few things on Palestine that are humane and important to say at a certain moment. But at the end of the day, they're supporting the same program, the same political program internationally and financially, the same Western financial program that is behind the genocide, that is responsible for the genocide in Palestine. And they'll go back to it once there's a ceasefire. I mean, do we honestly think that a world in which the United States maintains hegemony is going to be good for the Palestinians? No, but that's the world that a lot of these, a lot of fake independent commentators are defending. There are all these boutique left magazines that have shiny covers, and they somehow actually manage to produce magazines. The best left-wing writers want to write for them, like dissent. And I mean, nobody reads them, but like they have budgets, and it's a way to get credibility. It's really like the respectable left, N+1, dissent. There's this magazine I saw called Lux by this former Intercept columnist who's supposed to be real hip, Natasha Leonard, who used to attack me for various anti-war positions, but claims to be an anarchist. They all recently gathered in London for a meeting with the new leaders of the Open Society Foundations of George Soros, which was passed on to his son, Alex Soros. And they're all, the Open Society Foundations is doling out grants to these small leftist magazines. I mean, and when I say leftist, like on social issues, they are as leftist as it gets. But on supporting Western hegemony, they always take the same line that Soros has taken. Soros, who was described in a 1991 Washington Post article by David Ignatius as an overt operator doing what the CIA used to do covertly in funding color revolutions, funding regime change. And so that's kind of like, I think, the difference between true alternative media or independent left media like yourself and the ones who could work in corporate media, sometimes get fired for taking the wrong position on Palestine, but are always trying to edge their way back in and exist at the left edge of the conventional opinions set by the Democratic Party establishment, is that they fundamentally support the underpinnings, the ideological and political underpinnings of Western empire. And we do not, which puts us out in the political wilderness and leaves us constantly searching for the right third-party candidate who's scrounging for 1% of the vote. That's the way that, I mean, we're in some ways, we're sort of like internal casualties of an empire. But at the same time, I think we have more grassroots reach than ever before, which is why you see people impersonating the aesthetic